Professor Stephen Crump, welcome to Milestone Bellanova.
Well, thank
and we'll
you
get
very
the
much.
address right next time.
Thank you very much.
And Business Insider, thanks for your time. It's an exciting time, 20 years on for the university at Ourimbah, but we were just talking about some of those teething problems. Would you like to go through, because there was some confusion about exactly what we were getting and what we've got now, I think.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a very interesting history, and actually the land was set aside to be a college of advanced education probably 30 years ago. And about 25 years ago, a local committee got together and said, well, we really need a tertiary education campus for this, for our region. It's as big as the Northern Territory and Tasmania and, the ACT. We deserve something. And, a number of local people, and Michael Lee then, who was the federal minister, worked really hard to get a campus for this region. But what they decided on, it was actually revolutionary, was to have a multi-sector campus, to have TAFE, the community college and the university all co-located on the one site. And in fact, it was meant to be a high school, but the site they chose at Ourimbah was too small. But in other places have done this, a high school, like Coffs Harbour, there's a high school on campus too, certainly a senior school. So we ended up at Ourimbah with a multi-sector co-located campus.
And that had some image problems early on, did it?
Well, it started off as a place, a place of opportunity for people who had probably missed out on a chance to get education. There's a bit of a backlog still on the Central Coast, I think, of people who want to upgrade their qualifications, but how and when and where do they do it? So certainly having something local, something they can drive to in the afternoon or the evening or whatever, to get that extra qualification is really important. So it was seen essentially as that, and the age group, I think the mean age originally was something like 33 or something, but it's dropped and dropped and dropped until now it's at least 50% school leavers, and it's seen as a place that offers entry, to a top quality university and a whole range of degree options that provide career opportunities for our young people on the Central Coast.
And I'm a blower, and I've been here 10 years, but the image of the university seems to be evolving to one of, I think, beyond acceptance, but pride that it is part of the University of Queensland. University of Queensland, you don't mind. The University of Newcastle. Is that real? Is there a change in understanding of what the power of being part of Newcastle?
There is, and I think, some of it was, if you like, I don't want to blame anyone, but sort of the fault of they had trouble deciding on a name for the campus. So some people call it Ourimbah University, or was once called the Central Coast Campuses, and all sorts of things. So there has been an issue, with the naming of the campus, but certainly now it's very clear it's the University of Newcastle Central Coast. We have our own logo, and our own, badging, our own marketing, and people see it as a place, where they can come and get a higher education qualification. And enter a whole range of degrees that otherwise they couldn't do. And in fact, we offer 4 degrees at Ourimbah that they can't do at Newcastle. People at Newcastle, from Penrith, from Illawarra, from Western Australia, come and do degrees at the Ourimbah campus.
And Newcastle itself has quite a prestigious position. Did you say number 8?
Well, at the moment, yes, we're number 8 in ARC linkage grants, which are the grants that the government funds for universities to work with industry and business. And so we're number 8 in Australia. You probably know there's a thing called the GO8, the Group of 8, which is the old sandstone universities. So we've burst into that level of the sandstone universities in terms of our research with industry, and we're in the top 10 overall particularly for research income across Australia. So that's fantastic for a small regional university with a mission to provide access and participation to its local communities.
And do we see much of that research work being done in Ourimbah?
We do. There's particular areas where they specialise. We've got a new program starting in health and wellbeing, particularly with aged care. We've got research in marine science particularly, and we support the Marine Discovery Centre out at Terrigal. We've got research in exercise and sports science, and our students, postgraduate students, work with the Mariners, and on and on and on. We've got a whole lot of programs, oral health, podiatry, where we've got research programs that only happen on the Central Coast.
If business people are keen to utilise some of those resources, how do they approach the university at Ourimbah?
That's a really good question. It's a really hard one to answer.
Right.
You and I would be millionaires if we solved it, because it's a question asked right around the world. The engagement between university and higher education is very difficult. Business expects to be able to make one phone call, get onto someone, make it happen, and have a result fairly soon. And universities are very diverse and sort of distributed organisations. But I'm the Pro-Vice Chancellor for External Relations, and we're working very hard to be a shop front for the university, to be a one-stop place where the business and industry, where the professions can make contact with us, particularly through my office. And we have a address that's called Inquiries at Newcastle, and we then facilitate those. We probably won't answer them all because they need to be answered by an expert somewhere else, but we are the sort of, if you like, the sort of way that these inquiries flow through into the institution. And we're now increasingly making an effort to follow up those inquiries and make sure, case manage them basically, to make sure that there is an outcome.
Because there are opportunities, workplace development, or for students to go out into workplaces and work on specific projects or studies.
Indeed, in fact, nearly all our programs, probably 90% of our undergraduate students do some sort of work integrated learning or clinical placement. We have large education and nursing programs, so they do it as part of gaining their qualifications, but we have it right across the board. We even have work integrated learning for our maths students, our IT students, and the idea is they engage with university, mostly in the workplace, but not always, because it's a big call for a company to take on students, but mostly in the workplace. And often for 5 weeks or a longer period, and they take up a project and they work with that company almost as a consultant in a way. We had a really good example for one of our young communications students went out to work with a large organisation, and they gave him their new marketing plan, and he, young people, he said, well, I wouldn't do it that way.
But what are they thinking?
But in a way, he was much more clued into the social media and the digital generation, whatever. And he said, look, why don't you try this? They actually changed their marketing plan on his advice. So there's a two-way thing. We get the support and the experience and the opportunity for our students to become work ready. But businesses also sort of sometimes get that sort of extra insight of some of the latest.
And to give your office front or your shop front one more plug, it is the Pro-Vice Chancellor for External Affairs.
External Relations.
External Relations. Okay, we'll try and get you some projects out of that.
Right.
Stephen, we've got workplace learning, but it is for bigger business. Yep. Is there an opportunity, considering how many small businesses we've got on the coast, to maybe, I guess, I was going to say dumb it down, but destructure it so some of those small businesses could maybe work with some students as well?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and we are really focused on this because we're trying to offer a work integrated learning experience to all our undergraduate students. There's a lot, and they all can't do it outside the university. So increasingly we're looking at the ways that they can do it inside the university. And for small businesses, it is a big call on time and resources and everything else. So one way to do it is actually to present the university with a problem you want solved. And this sort of happens at the UTS shop front, and it's a model we're trying to emulate. And we're going to have sort of a portal where people can approach us with, you're a small business, you're working in IT or in curtain design or something, and you need information about it, or you've got you want a marketing strategy, or you need something. And normally you have a work integrated student come in and do it for you on site. Well, actually, we can give it to them and they can do it as part of their course in the university. That can be their assignment, that can be their project. It's marked, assessed and supervised in a working relationship with the business. And it doesn't have that call on time and having to find a desk for this student and everything else. It can be done.
Okay. The next 12 months, have you got a focus as in that external development area that you want to be marked on?
We do. In fact, we're looking. We're actually looking now 10, 20 years out, given a range of things happening. It's a good question again because we've just finished nearly $30 million worth of new buildings and infrastructure for a lot of those new courses we've introduced over the last 4 or 5 years. We've got a building opening in 2 weeks. Within the last week, we've got a new Vice Chancellor. She's very focused on campus and research matters. And particularly research and engagement with business and industry. That's her reputation from South Australia. And in fact, I've been working late on doing a briefing paper for her about exactly where I think we should go on the Central Coast. There's so many things happening. We've got the landing happening, we've got Warnervale, we've got Mount Penang. There's so many different areas in the Central Coast where, with business and local government and federal government, we want to engage to optimise what we can do for our community.
Stephen, we usually wrap this up with a rant. where our participants have the opportunity to get something off their chest for 60 seconds. And I'm not sure I included that in your list of questions, but I suspect you may have a rant, something gets up your nose. What do you think? We can cut it out if it gets really nasty. So.
No, it's a really hard question. Look, I just think the Central Coast, and I hope the genuineness of my feeling comes up. I just think the Central Coast is one of the best places in the world to live.
Oh, it is.
I really do.
Yeah.
But as a community, we need to recognise that and take more pride in it, and not worry about what happens in the Hunter, and not want to be part of Sydney. We're a very special place, and there's a lot of things. I was talking to someone the other day who's running some global business through some place in America, through a sort of a storehouse or something in Tuggerah Business Park, whatever. All the data from America is going through this storeroom in Tuggerah Business Park. It's feeding information right around the world about storm technology. Now that is an incredible story. Why don't we recognise that and celebrate that and see that the Central Coast is full of these things, and we should be proud of it.
Oh, well, you've stolen the no pun intended with the thunder and the storm, but that's where the Business Insider, we get exposed. We've been exposed to probably 60 or 70 of those stories, and it is truly exciting.
Yes.
We need to be proud of where we are,
Yep.
but also recognise the talent that we've got here, and when we hide. Not necessarily intentionally, but we don't talk enough about it.
I agree. I mean, maybe we're just very modest, and we're relaxed because of our beach environment. But a lot of the assumption is we're not doing much here, and that's just not true.
That's a great place to finish, I think. The fact is, we are doing a lot, and that's true.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephen.